From the great halls of their house, there are assembled three who hope to one day be the world's greatest driving heroes. Created from the cosmic legends of the universe comes our team captain, the Vision, Bill Fisher. Their soon-to-be Wonder Woman, Vicki Fisher. Our Captain Marvel and head flight trainee, Jennifer Scripchuk. And our Batman, the master of tools, gadgets, and all things mechanical, our mild-mannered soon-to-be billionaire, Alan Danvers. Their mission, to fight injustice, share what is right and wrong, to get you out of your house and come out racing with them, and serve all mankind. They are the Garage Heroes in Training Team. Dominating with Dawson.
Ben Dawson. I needs me some Ben Dawson.
Okay, settle down there, pal. What can I do for you?
But I need me some Ben Dawson. I don't need. I need. So Ben, we were flip-flopping around when I was trying to lure you out of your hiatus. I sent you a post that was put onto the forums, and you said, "Yeah, we should talk about it." And in essence,
what was it?
In essence, I know Ben's like, "Bill, you send me so many. Which one are you talking about?" It was about how are people not worried about running 50,000, 100,000, 100,000 or more dollar cars on track at HPDEs.
The question was, how are they not worried about it?
Yeah, why aren't they worried about it? How can they do that?
I got to kind of plead that a little bit. I don't know why I so eagerly jumped on this topic, because it's something I don't know much about. But
none of us ride these cars on track, so that's the first part.
Right.
But
So first of all, I've never driven anything that had, like, everything I drove on track I've been responsible for has pretty much had negative street value. I mean, for real. Like the most I've ever sold a race car for, I think we sold my Miata for like $8,500. I think we sold our E30 for like $9,500. So anyway, not high value stuff. And this is after we put a bunch of stuff into it. Anyway, so I can't really relate, but a lot of stuff has evolved since I started doing. I did my first DE in 2005, and the world of DEs was a lot different. So I started being an instructor in 2010 and stopped paying for anything right then. You know what I mean? As far as fees for DEs, I don't know. I'm so out of tune. I'm like 15 years out of tune as far as how much anything costs and what people do. And all I've been driving on tracks since that whole time pretty much has been, cars that I wasn't worried about losing myself, or, fully built race cars that also are not, you don't really street value most of those unless it's way higher up than what we were doing. So I'm not sure, but I know I've prefaced my now comment with all that to say, I understand that there's a whole lot bigger world of track insurance that didn't used to be a thing when I first started doing all this. So I understand a lot of folks just immediately rely on track insurance, just like with this generation of dogs that we have now. We just immediately got them pet insurance after our previous generation of dogs slayed our budgets,
Yep.
So I'm sure that's part of it. I'm comfortable taking my McLaren on track because I insured it. But I'll tell you this, back in my day, I remember there was a guy who was in my same intermediate group in NASA DE. So that's how far back we're talking. But he had a nice brand new Mini Cooper S, and coming out of turn 3 VIR, he hooked it to the left, he got loose and hooked it to the left, and went straight into the left side wall. It's right there. So this is coming out of turn 3. He just zinged it right into that wall. And the car was pretty bitched up. And this guy, we heard the guy, they got towed back to the pits, and we walked by. We want to do a walk by without stopping. You guys, sometimes when that happens, you guys ever do that where you just sort of walk by to hear what people are saying, but you don't want to really stop and talk to them? My dad and I did a walk, just a cruise by, because it was a DE. We'd already done our session. We had another hours to wait or whatever. It wasn't like we had anything pressing. So we just tried to do a walk by this dude, and he's begging the tow truck guys who are unhooking him at his pit area. He's begging them to take him out to the road so he can claim it was a road accident. You know what I mean?
No. Yeah.
And those guys, I'm sure they hear it all the time. They're like, "No, so we're not allowed to do that." But that was one of the things that kind of sticks out in my mind. And these days, I think that guy would have probably been somebody who would have taken advantage of track insurance. So I think that's part of it. I think also, during my time living in Northern California, I didn't do a lot of DE. I mostly raced lemons and chump that whole time. But a couple DEs I did. This is in Northern California. This is out by the base. So there's a lot of tech money. But you'd have dudes rolling up with some Ferrari that I didn't even know they made in the novice group. In that case, I think sometimes the answer is, I got enough money that I'm not worried about this. No matter what happens to this car, I'll get another one. We saw I was at a race sometime with the Random Vandals, who I think race like IMSA and stuff. And they used to race, WRL and even AER when I first started. The Random Vandals, but these are the kind of guys who will buy a brand new M2 competition coupe. It's already a fully built race car from BMW. And I was at a
Right.
race, and they had a wreck that was pretty bad. And I happened to do another one as well, but I just maybe heard it. But like, I heard the guy say, I was like, "Hey, yeah, okay." He's like, "Oh yeah, don't worry, we've already been on the phone with BMW. We have another car coming." You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's scale of economy too. They were just like, oh, they were not worried about the car that they had just crashed, which would have devastated my entire economy.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh no, we've already been on the phone with BMW. They got one coming for us. So it just depends. I mean, there's a whole different scale of people out there. There's dirtbags like me who came out and started doing this with no money and still have no money. And then there's people, every doctor and lawyer who thinks it'd be fun who comes out and makes more on the scale of the world than I do, I'm sure. So yeah, I think economics, insurance, how dumb you are can play into it. I mean, that's just people
Yeah.
just make stupid ass decisions. Like, I've definitely made stupid decisions at the track, but they usually don't involve a high-dollar car.
Yeah.
But that's some people's flavor of dumb decision, I think.
Well, I went a different way because so here's my question. At HBDE, how many of those letters are R?
No, I guess zero if I count them up right.
Zero. So there's no racing in an HPDE, right?
Mhm.
So especially like HPD 1 or 2 or whatever the early colors are. I know the different places have different,
Novice, intermediate.
yeah, whatever. Any of those until you're like at 3 or 4 in NASA vernacular,
Yeah.
you shouldn't be pushing your car to the limit. You should be learning.
Mm-hmm.
So the risk is minimal. So that's the only way. I mean, besides the economy stuff, I mean, there are people who a $50,000 car is tip and change. That's their winter
Right,
beater.
right.
That's different. But and there's people who a $2 million car is a winter beater. But that's a different level. I'm talking
Yeah.
about strictly the thing. In an HPDE, you're not wheel to wheel, so that reduces the risk. And two, you should be driving in control and learning to handle the car and how the car handles and what it's capable of doing below the limit. So the risk shouldn't be high. And with
And
track insurance, you could do that. But, I could see somebody going out there in a $50,000 car, $100,000 car. I don't recommend it, but
Mm-hmm.
I could see it.
it's also, it's kind of to go along with what you're saying. It's been my experience at seeing people who do that with nicer cars. As I'm putting through NASA 1 through 4 to instructing in the same Miata the entire time with pretty much the same modifications. Along the way, I put better suspension in there and a full cage. But you know, I would see people who would start out with relatively new cars at the track going through DE 1 and 2 or novice and intermediate. And by the time we got to like an advanced or 3 and 4, they might have that same car, but it's gone from having exhaust on to having more and more extreme modifications. Then you look at it like, oh, this is going to be this guy's track car forever. He's been around long enough. He's hooked on this stuff. It kind of went from being like, oh crap, look at this guy racing a car that didn't make a whole lot of sense to him being out there with a pretty cool modified version of it. And this is for him. He's staying and doing it. And maybe this thing will eventually be a race car. So that's one path I've seen be fairly
Yeah.
common with the people who end up being lifers and stick around.
Yeah. And I've seen a bunch of them that came out there with their dream car, their daily, super sports car, whatever it could be. And 4, 5, 10 events later, they came out with a different car that wasn't quite there, and
Yeah.
and realized that, hey, I don't learn as much when I've got a car that's got capabilities so high, I can't come close to reaching the limit without, in some cases, literally taking your life into your hands because you're plus 180 going down the back straight. That's kind of, that's not what you don't want to learn at 180 miles an hour.
It's a bad time to start picking up lessons, but and not to like kind of seize on every permutation of this. But another thing I've seen happen, which is probably good for some of our listeners to hear who might be interested in heading the direction of racing, is I've seen folks come out with very fancy cars as individuals, and maybe they've seen like a champ car team or a lemons team there at the track testing. And I've seen people who've seen how much fun people can have with like completely low budget cars with no power. And I've seen people, come back with something like that. Hey, I'm back with an E36. We hope to be racing this thing in a few months. You know what I mean? That's the
Yep.
story I've also seen.
Yeah.
So somebody ditches their super fancy, brand new BMW. They're M3. They're going to start tracking. Maybe they don't ditch it, but they turn up with something that they can have even more fun with, wheel to wheel, and getting to know, like, here's a car I can go totally throw around without even the slightest care. Because if I ding up this E36, what the hell? I'm either going to keep driving it or get another one. Like, if
Yeah.
it's bad enough, I'll get another one. If it's okay, I've got a dinged up E36 that's even more fun. There's a story. I mean,
Yep.
that's something that I've also seen happen, which is really cool. I enjoy that too, because it means
Yeah.
here comes somebody else into the racing community for us.
There's no reason to learn with a car that's got supercar capabilities. I can't think of any.
Unless that's the end point. Unless you've done all these means and that's the end. Is I wanted to get my Corvette. I wanted to take it to the track. I wanted to go as fast as I could go, and then I'm gonna go drive it forever. You know what I mean? To some people,
Yeah.
that's the mountaintop. That's the fulfillment. So
Yeah,
I don't
it
want
could
to
be.
sell them short either. For some people, that's the destination.
Yeah, I mean, it could be. I would rather see them learn in like whatever their ego could handle, less capable car.
Well, I mean, if you're already at the racetrack with your car, you think you're some kind of badass. Ego's already a problem, and that's all of us.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Well,
Kind of
I hear you though. I hear you.
if
Ideals.
how you have those artificial. If I were the what would be the grand poobah of racing,
Yeah. Hmm.
people would start. I'll give you like three choices, right? These are the three cars you start with. And pick whichever one you want. I don't care, and just learn on that, and then because half the time when people do buy their supposed dream car, I mean, Miss Vicki was palling around with a gentleman who had I believe it was a real Cobra,
Yeah.
and that's not the car you drive on track. It's a really cool car to go 8/10 on the road, but it's not a good car for learning how to do HPDE. And it's kind of like making your job your hobby or your
Yeah.
hobby into your job. Sometimes it's not as much fun. So,
I'm gonna say the
learn.
three cars are Crown Vic, 2003 Ford Focus wagon, and third car Honda Accord.
I was being nicer than that, but yeah,
Right.
there's not too many. It's
Those are
everybody's
the
gonna
three cars you get.
no. I have a different selection, but that's
Oh, do you? Oh, what are your three?
I do. I would think you'd probably want a Miata.
Oh, you're
Yes.
trying to give them something nice. Okay, I
Yeah,
got you.
something decent. Now, if you're a person who either is prejudiced against the hairdresser Miata or can't fit in the Miata, I think the current or last generation Toyota 86 BRZ FRS, the triplets, great car.
Sure. For being nice.
That could be a nice. And if you're well, I'll probably need to do four cars. If you're one of those, I am a European car guy, then there's nothing wrong with a nice BMW 3 Series. Pick your 3 Series, maybe an E36, E46 would be kind of
No
the
M3s.
sweet spot. No M3s to start with, not to start with. Give you something to grow into.
Yeah,
And
sure.
and then if you're a JDM enthusiast, I wouldn't do the Evo X number, or I wouldn't do the
No. Subaru.
no, I wouldn't do the Subaru, STI. I would do, I can't, we don't have any
You do a
front wheel
Honda.
drive, so maybe
You
we
do
do
you do a
Honda
Honda.
Civic or something.
EG Honda Civic. Just pretend they're all over the place and they can have one of those.
And if you want a new one and you want something that scoots a little bit, either the Elantra now, or what was the one before that they stopped making, the 3-door.
Veloster?
Yeah, the Veloster. That would be a fun one. We don't make it
Yeah,
anymore.
sure.
So, but just that's if you're a front wheel drive kind of person. So
Yeah.
there's no reason. It's kind of like the first car for your son or daughter. You don't want it to be a McLaren. I mean,
No.
I got a strict thing. It's like 200-ish horsepower, manual transmission, ideally a back seat for insurance purposes only, or for people with no legs. I want them to have as few passengers as possible. I want their hands to be busy so they're not on the phone, and I want the engine to be able to get out of its own way, but not a lot more. That's kind of it.
Sounds good. Yeah.
That's it.
I
That's
like your
enough.
premise.
Yep. So, but the odds
Once
on me
again,
being
we
elected-
once again we bravely proved ourselves absolutely right.
That's right.
Thanks, everybody. We did that.
Nobody disagrees, right?
That's right. Nobody can tell us we're wrong on this.
I hear no dissenters. If they wanted to dissent, they could write into another podcast. No, they could write into GarageHeroesInTraining@gmail.com.
We love nothing more than to hear from our wonderful people who listen to this show.
That's right.
Tell us what you think about this.
If you have a good question, we'll give you a code name. It's amazing how we can come up with every single time we come up with a code name for these people. It's amazing.
It's a unique experience for them and for us.
I know. It is. You will know when it's you, and you'll know that the code name is you, but nobody else can break our codes because that's how we roll.
On this Premier Racing podcast, that is how we roll.
That is. Well, Mr. Dawson, did we miss anything on this one?
I think we talked about everything I could think about of it, because also remember, I'm just a extremely low dollar dirtbag to begin with. So I'm sure
I thought you were going Latin
nuance.
major there. So
No.
Okay,
I can't really relate to the expensive cars, but some of our listeners can. I'd love to hear what they think about this.
And you know what else? Ben would love to go drive your Basti car.
Yes. Sure, why not?
Yes, you can write into GarageHeroesInTraining@gmail.com, or you can write into Ben the Hobbitfoot Dawson @gmail.com. And if he can get his schedule to come, he will gladly show you what your car is fully capable of doing.
Absolutely.
You may get scared in the passenger seat, though.
You may spend several hours hovering over a trash can after that.
These things happen.
They have happened.
The key is thumbs up and thumbs down is a very good thing to communicate to Ben before you get to the pit lane.
Yep,
because he will come in. But if you don't, you might, litter your windshield or your helmet.
Yep, we did it.
Yep.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you. That was fun.